hybrid meeting. This meeting is being recorded and will be available via the council website and viewed as soon as possible and practical following this meeting. Everyone participating in this meeting will be in access to this meeting either through the council chamber or remote locations. Please could everyone ensure that their mobile phones are switched off or on silent mode, please. Members will have received an electronic copy of the agenda. I will ask officers to present a summary of the key points. For the record, the agenda can be viewed on the council website. Members and officers will be speaking at various points during the meeting, and those speaking may switch their microphones on at that point, or at other times attendees should keep their microphones off. Please could the members attending remotely only keep their cameras on for the duration of the meeting, please. If any members or officers wish to raise a point or questions, they should press the hands up icon on the top right-hand side of the Microsoft Teams windows, and I will come to you in the order I received requests. Please lower your hands once you finish speaking, and the chat button will be disabled for this meeting. Please do not use your microphones until I invite you to do so. Officers from Democratic Services will be supporting this meeting, and we will be monitoring the use of the microphones throughout the meeting, and when necessary, will mute those not being used. In the event of any vote, the Democratic Services Officer will call out the names of the members in question in order that they cast their vote, and the legal officer then will tot these up and announce the result. We need to change the wording on that. Would you also ask the officers to introduce themselves as and when I invite them to speak during the course of the meeting? They should also ensure microphones and cameras are switched off when not in use, please. I will now proceed to the agenda. I've had number one on the agenda is apologies. I've had Councillor Chris Davis and Councillor Joanna Hopkins has also given their apologies. Anybody else? Mark?
Councillor Barrow.
And Councillor Barrow. Anybody else? No? Okay, I'm going to change the direction of where we're going to go today on the agenda. So where you've got number 8 on your agenda will now become number 1. Where it's 9 will be 4th. That will be the last thing we'll deal with today. Number 10 is number 2. And number 11 is number 3. Okay, we've had to do it in that order, unfortunately. And I will obviously, on number 2, I will leave the meeting. Simon, can you take the chair for number 2, please? I will be declaring an interest and leave the meeting, as I know a person is speaking.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, then, so if we go to the declaration of interest, receive the minutes, please. Can somebody move accept the minutes of the 4th? Thank you. Site visits on Wednesday, the 26th of the 6th, 24 for proposed site inspections, just as for noting. Public speakers, well, there are public speakers today. There's a number of people speaking.
Sorry, Chair. Point of order. We haven't done declarations.
Oh, sorry,
of
right.
Yes,
Yes, you are. You're quite right. Declarations of interest. All right, sorry. Right, Jonathan?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Agenda item 10, or wherever we are now, in the Griffin Park Bowls Pavilion as an elected member of Porthcawl Town Council, who is the applicant. Thank you. I'm prejudicial. I'll be leaving the room. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Mark John?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It was agenda item 11, but now I believe it's agenda item 3, as I'm one of the local members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item number 10, or whatever it is today, a prejudicial interest, as I have put in objections. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Waltham?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. A personal interest in Park Street, Bridgend. I'm a member of Bridgend Town Council. Do not take part in planning. And I think I should declare personal interest in Griffin Park Bowls Pavilion. I am a veteran, although I'm not involved with Porthcawl veterans. Okay,
thank you for that. I am aware, Della, that you are putting your hand and it's going down for some reason. Do you want to speak now?
Declare a prejudicial interest in P/23/699/full former Betters Club as a family friend lives in the properties in front and is objecting to the proposal.
Okay, thank you for that. Heather Griffiths, please.
I am also a member of Garibaldi Community Council, so I should declare an interest.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And who's number 2 on there? Oh,
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Eastbrook.
A personal item on the Park Street HMO. I'm a member of Bridgend Town Council, but not on planning and play no part in planning. I'm the one of the ward members of Bridgend Central, of which that planning application is within there. I've played no part in any discussions. I've led the other 2 ward members, so I sit here non-predetermined. So therefore, as a committee member, I'm happy to participate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So we've done that. Right. You've all seen the amendment sheet. I take it everybody's had a copy of it? Seen it? Okay, thank you for that. Right then, if we go on to the first one then, number 1, which is P23/699 full land west of Heel Dewi Sant Betos. And Lee, you taking this, please?
Oh, we got speakers. Chair.
Oh, you got speakers. Sorry, yes.
Julian, you do after Martin Jones.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes, yeah. Can you read? Yeah, we're going to read out Martin Jones's letter, and then we've got the agent to come to speak as well.
Good morning. For the purpose of the recording, I'm Gillian Dawson, solicitor and advisor to the chair and the DC Planning Committee. I've been asked to read out the local ward member's statement, Councillor Martin Jones, in his absence, as follows. You can see the script on pages 19 to 21 of the agenda. This site is located within the heart of the community of Bettis and was once a well-established community social club. The building and site footprint are privately owned. Disappointingly, due to lack of essential maintenance, the building is currently in a bad state of disrepair. The building has attracted antisocial behaviour, which have been subject to numerous police-related incidents. The area needs regeneration. Bettis is a semi-rural community surrounded by countryside. There are no recognised active travel routes to access the community. There is limited public transport. There are 3 access roads into the community, which predominantly can be described as country lanes. The site is immediately next door to a new childcare facility recently constructed with Welsh Government funding. This building aims to provide education and wellbeing support to children under the age of 5 years. Other notable buildings nearby are a public house, petrol service station, and a youth centre managed by the Girls and Boys Club of Wales. There is a row of traditional farming cottages adjacent to the site. The developers seek permission to design and construct 20 single one-bedroom flats with commensurate car parking and cycle storage facilities. This appears to be in line with Bridgend County Borough Council's policy to increase the supply of affordable social housing, particularly 1- and 2-bedroom properties. There is significant local objection to this application based on design and construction of the building, suitability of the proposal within this location, imprecise information on potential tenants, and tenancy management proposals. I have met with the developers on 3 occasions, 1 site visit and 2 virtual meetings. A V2C, that's Valleys to Country representative, Valleys to Coast representative, only attended 1 virtual meeting. My suggestion to hold a formal public meeting consultation event has not materialised. This was an ideal opportunity to address public concern. I offer the following representations. The proposed design and construction plan is, I believe, not suitable for this location. The building does not appear to be aesthetically designed or landscaped for its surroundings. For example, the height of the building will overlook neighbouring properties located at, forgive my pronunciation, Shute Hill. Thank you, Councillor. The development will attract a significant increase in vehicular traffic And although there is mention of cycle facilities, as previously outlined, there are no active travel routes within the community. I have not been cited on any traffic management plan. Although the plan seeks to address provision of a mixed market of affordable housing, specifically for one-bedroom properties, I have not seen any data that suggests this demand exists within the Garoo Valley. BCBC currently bases policy making on demand of such properties in Bridgend, Cornelly and Porthcawl areas. This suggests that V2C intends transferring residents in from these areas to the Bettis community. At present, V2C struggles with current tenant management responsibilities within Bettis and beyond. From property maintenance to antisocial behaviour, I have personal records of numerous management consultation and discussions to address this issue. This fuels community concern of future tenancy issues on this site. Furthermore, although V2C are the largest social housing providers within Bettis, there has not been a V2C-led regeneration project for the last 12 years. It cannot be ignored that the proposed building will be sited immediately next door to a new childcare facility. Obvious issues of safeguarding cannot be ignored when considering the suitability of potential tenants. I have not seen any information that this has been considered. V2C have additionally submitted a pre-planning application for 80 dwelling social housing units within the same community. This application can be identified as P23226/out. This location lends itself to the provision of one-bedroom facilities, although I cannot see if this has been considered within this application. I would also add caution that the same principles of objection may well present itself with this application.
Yeah, that's for the time. How much more?
Right, so
Just summarise then.
due to time restraints, I have been unable to read the whole of page 21, continuing Councillor Jones's representations. He goes on to describe the other application, and in summary, if all three applications were to proceed, then quite simply the community will be confronted with the reasons, the issues listed under the councillor's bullet points on page 21. And to conclude, I therefore oppose the current application based on the information that's been provided to me and which is presented in this report. I believe a community, right? So is that?
It's in the report.
It's all in the report.
Yeah, and it is all stated. So I've just briefly summarised the last page.
Thank you for that. Right, Mr. Smith, would you like to come down to the podium, please? Five minutes, Mr. Smith, okay? To go over a little bit, we'll give you a little bit of latitude because obviously we've given the officers latitude.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, and thank you for your time at the site visit this morning and for the opportunity to address Planning Committee today. I represent the applicant, Castell Group, as their planning consultant and speak in support of the application. I'd like to start by thanking the case officer, Rodri Davis, for his hard work during the course of the application process to date. The committee report before you fully considers and assesses the proposed development to provide 20 affordable flats at this previously developed site within the settlement boundary of Bettis. Therefore, as the report is recommending approval, I shall keep my comments brief. The former social club has been vacant for a number of years and is in poor condition both internally and externally. In short, its current appearance is an eyesore and it forms a sustainable location for redevelopment. The committee report acknowledges that the local settlement of Bettis is well served by Wellbeing Lodge and Activity Centre, Bettis Life Centre, the Old Fellows Pub and the Sardis Baptist Chapel. The submitted marketing report identifies that it's not been possible to find an end user willing to keep the building in social club use as the decline of such facilities is well established. Therefore, your officers offer no objection to the loss of the community facility. The key concerns from the public consultation relate to the development being 100% affordable housing, as the preferred choice from the public response was for the site to be used for over 55 housing. The end user will be Valleys to Coast Housing Association, and they've confirmed the units are required to be allocated in accordance with the Council's Common Housing Register, and so they cannot restrict the affordable housing to those over the age of 55. In addition, the site is too small for a private development of over 55's accommodation, so it would not come forward under a private development for such a use. Therefore, despite not being a policy requirement, we've established that the site is not deliverable as an over 55 development. Another main concern from the public consultation relates to the parking revision. The report before you confirms that the 21 spaces for 20 flats is acceptable. This is due to the low car ownership of occupiers of flats and by those living in affordable housing. This has been confirmed by Valleys to Coast from similar sites in their management. At the site visit today and during the comments read out, Councillor Jones noted the site in the heart of Betws, and I agree with this point. It's sustainably located in the centre of Betws, and housing at this site will remove pressure for development on greenfield land at the edge of Betws. The two applications referenced are both greenfield sites, and Councillor Jones' comments are approximately about 5 months old because they're made during the course of the original application. The City Farm application has now actually been refused as well, so there's only one development application which is outstanding, just to clarify that point. In terms of neighbour impacts, which was another comment made today at the site visit, the nearest habitable room window in the development is approximately 43 metres from the nearest neighbouring dwelling to the rear. This ensures that it will have no unacceptable impact to overlooking to the rear. During the consultation today at the site visit, a neighbour raised a comment about a gate being provided. I've spoken with Castell and I'm happy to work with the neighbour on that, as long as we can still achieve the Secure by Design Gold Award, which is required. In relation to the public consultation and the comments are made, we undertook statutory pre-application consultation, which gave everyone an opportunity to see the plans and provide comments and suggestions before the application was submitted. So in conclusion, the Council's housing team, Bridgend Council's housing team, have confirmed the need for the proposed 20 affordable apartments. The Council's housing support programme strategy identified that there was a 212% increase in households on the Common Housing Register between March 2020 and February 2023. As of July 2023, there were 2,629 households on the Common Register, of which 59%, or 1,551 households, are waiting for a one-bedroom property. There is a dire need for this development and lots more like this in order for the Council to meet its statutory homelessness strategy. Therefore, we ask you to concur with the recommendation of your professional planning officers and to grant planning permission today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Right. Rod, do you want to come in now as the officer?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Morning, members. For the purposes of the recording, my name is Roger Davis, Development and Building Control Manager. This application seeks consent for the demolition of the former Betws Social Club and the erection of 2 apartment blocks for 20 affordable residential units. It is referred to the DC Committee to consider the objections raised. The 20 residential apartments will be shared across 2 detached blocks, one a 3-storey building and the other a combination of 2 and 3 stories. Bring this up. The blocks are sited either side of a central access road leading to 21 on-site parking spaces. The buildings will utilise a buff brick finish with a contrasting plinth and window surround features. The flat roof design aims to reduce the scale and mass of the building so that they do not dominate the immediate area. The 2 flat roof blocks will include a mix of apartment types to meet an identified local housing need for people wishing to move back to Betws. The scheme includes PV panels set behind the parapet of the roofs. Contemporary design approach will allow for modern energy efficient units with a fabric first approach. Different roof forms were considered but discounted as Betws has a wide variety of building styles and in order to reduce the scale and mass of buildings in the street scene. The scheme will provide much needed housing in an area where there has been a historical shortage of housing supply and where there is an evident need for affordable housing, particularly by people who wish to move back to the village. Barry's Two Coast Housing Association confirmed that the units will be allocated fully in accordance with the BCBC Common Housing Register and in line with the nomination agreement that Barry's Two Coast has with BCBC. The site constitutes a small windfall site under policy SP6 of the replacement LDP and will make a valuable contribution towards delivering the overall housing requirement. The social club has been vacant for a number of years and is falling into a state of disrepair whilst attracting antisocial behaviour, as noted this morning. The redevelopment of this site will technically result in the loss of an existing social and community facility, but it has been justified on the basis that the social club is no longer viable due to its poor condition and configuration, and it is acknowledged that the marketing exercise has not been successful. There are also a number of facilities within easy walking distance to the site, including a public house, a petrol station, places of worship, a nursery, a primary school, secondary school, a community centre, cafes, takeaways, and a convenience store, amongst others. In addition, as noted on site this morning, it is close to bus stops for regular bus services to and from Bridgend and Glengarrow. A contribution will be secured for outdoor sport in line with the Council's SPG, and localised improvements to the active travel network to and from the bus stops are proposed as part of the scheme. The buildings are designed, orientated and sited to avoid any overlooking or overbearing impacts on neighbouring properties. A suitable landscaping scheme has also been proposed. The recommendation is as per the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Rodri. You can see the officer's recommendation on page 38. Can somebody formally move and second, please? Thank you. Somebody second? Thank you. Anybody got any questions regarding this application? Councillor John.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a couple of things. When we were on the site visit this morning, I asked a question, is it Valleys to Coast? And we were told it may or may not be, but it's just been reiterated that it is to be Valleys to Coast. Just some clarification on that, if that's possible, Chair, to start with.
Yeah, Rod?
Yes, no problem. Thank you, Councillor. Yes, it was reiterated on site that the applicant is Castell Homes, and the agent is acting on behalf of Castell Homes as the applicant. It is likely to be a housing association, and is likely to be V2C in this area. So obviously V2C have been working with the applicant on this site and has provided that information in relation to the common register that they work with the council on in terms of providing accommodation for people on that register. So whilst nothing's guaranteed in this world, it's likely to be V2C that would be the end user of this site, and they will work together with the council to allocate these units to the relevant people. Thank you, Chair.
Does that clarify the point, Councillor John? Yeah? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Richard Williams, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think looking at the drawing there, the picture of the new buildings, it's going to be a huge improvement on what is there at the moment. But my concern is who is going to live there. I think it's right next to a nursery, and I'm very concerned that the correct people, that is people without drugs convictions and things like that, are allowed to live there. So I just have this, whereas it looks to be a big improvement on what's there now, I need that assurance that the people who live there will be vetted and, not have convictions I mentioned. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Williams. Rod?
Yes, good point, Councillor. It was raised with local residents this morning as well, and I can understand the trepidation. I suppose any changes is not always supported, but in this case, as mentioned by the agent and myself as well, it won't be just a case of anyone being put in there. It has to be done in accordance with our own common housing register. So Martin Morgan's team will be on top of this, and it'll have to be in line with the nomination agreement that Valleys to Coast, the likely occupier, has with ourselves as a council. So it will be done properly. It won't be done on a whim. It will be agreed and selected off that register. Obviously, it doesn't mean people who are in need of housing, it doesn't mean that they're all, antisocial occupiers, neighbours. You can be in need of a social house, even if you're a professional or a couple with two well-paid jobs. So it's a case of working with our council. So V2C is the likely occupier of these buildings, or operator of these buildings, are going to work with our housing team to make sure that they get this right, because the last thing they want to do as well is to cause any issues for local residents and perpetuate that sort of myth of social housing these days. So whilst it's not a planning matter and we can't enforce that from a planning point of view, it will be done through a separate housing element. So rest assured that'll be the case. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor David Harrison, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sticky fingers there. On Rodri summing up, it was obviously two buildings under construction, one being 3-storey and one being a mixture of 3 and 2-storey. Would it be possible to see which is the 2-storey bit? Because in that picture we can see, you can't see the two. That's lovely. That clears it all up without anybody answering my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Simon, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my concern is about the external finish of this building. I think looking at it from my point of view, it's rather bland and rather overpowering, actually, in the amount of similar brickwork that is presented. And I wondered whether there's an opportunity for more contrast within the building to break up that large expanse of brick. And I refer you to the photograph of the example design on page 27, I think it is, 28 in the pack. And I note in that example design, the floor-to-ceiling windows there are actually in relief out of the building, so they project away from the building, and there's also greater contrast in some of the finish there. So I would like the buildings that we have to not only be excellent functional buildings, but also to improve the look and feel of the area as well. So I wonder what opportunity there is for us to request for the developer to look at the overall outlook and break up those large brick expanses a little bit, so that it becomes a more welcoming and more friendly building within the community.
Rod?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Chair. Yes, that's an excellent point. This project benefited from an extensive pre-application process as well. We toyed around with different building forms and designs, roof lines more than anything, and it was agreed that reducing the height of the building was probably key in this area, and there's no real fixed building or established building design in Betws. So we accepted the flat roof design. We've also expressed a need to break up that mass of buff brick as well. We accepted the point that brick would be a better material in this location rather than render, because render does fail after a few years. So the buff brick itself is an acceptable material. We're just looking at different contrasting and features in that mass, I suppose. That's the flat sort of elevation there is looking at, so breaking it up with a plinth element, and detail is around the window. I think I've got the example of the site in Cardiff that you referred to in the report here. And we've also got a condition. Here we go. That's the example in Adamsdown, trying to fit in with the height of buildings in and around that area. Another step down as you go into the site there. We have a condition, if I can find it very quickly, relating to materials. Here we go. Condition 3, prior to their use on site, a detailed specification for or samples of the materials to be used in the construction of external surfaces of the residential buildings hereby permitted shall be submitted to and approved. We can potentially look at perhaps expanding that condition and include some level of detailing in there as well. Obviously, it'll be the same design, but perhaps picking out some elements in there, perhaps window surrounds or some detailing just to break that mass up. And we'll work with the applicant and agent on that just to get to that level of detailing that you're looking for, Councillor. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Simon, for that question, and officers will obviously take that away. Councillor
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you. As one of the local members of that site, I am quite disturbed by the fact to learn that it is definitely valleys to coast. I am concerned whether the site itself, we all know it's crying out for redevelopment, and I don't actually know if this is the right development, because as we all know, what valleys to coast say and what they do are completely different things. And 15 years down the line, what sort of state would this buildings be in? And I am very wary of it, very wary. I'm disappointed to you that it is definitely valleys to coast. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. Rod, do you want to quickly answer that or not? Or is it... I can come in. All right. Jonathan? That's the other one.
What?
You must speak to the light, sir.
Yeah. I've spoken to worse, Chair. Thank you, Chair. For the purpose of recording, I'm Jonathan Parsons, Group Manager for Planning and Development. Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. I fully appreciate your concerns on this. But in terms of the decision for the local planning authority, it's the land use planning aspect we're looking at. It's been suggested, and maybe it's been confirmed at V2C, that maybe looking after the building, but it could be any housing association, or it could be any landlord, because that's the planning system doesn't go into that sort of level of detail. But I appreciate you may have some concerns in that area, but it's the merits of the site in terms of its land use planning aspect we're looking at, and it's that's what we are limited to in this committee. But thank you for your comments. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I can see no other questions. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favour?
Aye.
Is there anybody against then? Let's go that way. Is there anybody against the application? Right, Heather, one. So it's all four bar one then. Okay, Heather Griffiths has objected to it. Okay, the next one then, thank you for that all. The next one is, which I'm going to leave now, it's P2422 full, Griffin Park.
Can I get Councillor Hughes back?
Oh yes, well I'm going to go anyway. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, everybody, for giving. Oh.
Chair. We'll get Vice Chair. Councillor Griffiths, if you can sort of be Master of Ceremonies in Chair's absence.
Yes, thank you, Rodri. I will do my best. I was a little bit unprepared for this. I wasn't quite sure. I wasn't aware that the chair would step out, so I'll do my best. So I guess we're looking at reference P2422 FUL. That starts on page 83 of the pack in front of you. Do we have any representations on this, or do we go straight to yourself, Rodri?
Yeah, we have a speaker against this, and we have a speech to read out again on this item as well, and then Lee, as the case officer, will give members a brief rundown of the proposals as well.
Thank you, Reg. So if you could invite the speaker to come up, please. Are they online or are they in the chamber?
No, I'm in the chamber. Thank
Great.
you very much for allowing me to speak this morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Lee Evans, who I spoke to on the phone yesterday and was supportive in sending me back my copy of the objections as I had indiscriminately deleted it. During my conversation with Mr Evans, it came about that Porthcawl Town Council had given the understanding that their lease at 16 to 18 Mary Street was coming to an end. I'd just like to clarify that. The lease is currently running, it is in place. There is, as in many leases, an exemption, a cut-out clause where you can cease the lease after so long. And this is the reason that I think that this has been brought before council to have a temporary order. Initially, it was a permanent change of use, but it was changed to temporary because in the town council's meeting, it was only put forward as temporary. To give you a little background information on this, I'll quickly go through. Porthcawl Town Council signed a lease with BCBC in July of 2022. Clearly stated within that lease was the use of the Griffin Park Pavilion was purely and solely for use for recreation and the bowls clubs, the veteran hubs that are currently using it at the moment. I'd also like to point out something that I pointed out to Lee Evans on page 85. There are some pictures of Griffin Park. As you can see in the pictures, the bottom picture, which shows the Eastern Promenade, is actually an old Google map picture, as I was informed yesterday. And those double yellow lines are no longer double yellow lines. They are lines with 2 bars across, meaning there is no loading, no waiting, no access for anybody with any disability. I'd like to fully support the statements made by Nora Clark and Councillor Smith as well in objection to this, and fully support all of their objections. As to my objections, my first objection was that there is no parking provision within the park. In fact, the park has vehicular access, meaning that cars can go into the park. This is of concern to me, as last year there were cars from Northern Ireland parked on the grass in the playground. And I note in Mr Evans's recommendations that a removable bollard is put in place. I would suggest that this needs to be a permanent bollard, as there is another access further on down the road near to where the old Veterans Hub was, where a larger vehicle can be pulled in. As to the space in the upstairs of the building, I have some concerns and some issues regarding that. When you look at the pictures, you can see that it is a tilted roof, and the actual floor space is less than it seems. Really, it's about 25 square meters in all, and if you look at the pictures, you can see the only full height ceiling is where the snooker table is, the snooker table, which is extremely valuable. I'd also like to point out that in no time has there been a business plan put into place, as Porthcawl Town Council are actually stating there is a money-saving condition for them, that they will save money. That shouldn't be taken into consideration in any way, shape or form, as it's not set out in their precept over the last 2 years. In fact, when Porthcawl Town Council took on the lease, within weeks they had a meeting which was sensitive in nature, but I have been given no exemption for asking on a Freedom of Information Act as why discussion on using that pavilion as offices. Plans were drawn up for both the downstairs and the upstairs being changed into offices, with no consultation with the users, with no consultation to the communities in which it's supposed to be acting on our behalf. At every single packed meeting, parking on New Road is discussed, and councillors that are present in this chamber are well aware of that. There is a difficulty with parking at any time, let alone meeting the Diversity, Equality and Inclusivity Act for staff in their own town council policy. And it is for town council applicants now and in the future. So Porthcawl Town Council is going against their own policies, their own well-being and 5-year plan in putting this forward in the first place. I can not more strongly object to this being changed in any way, shape or form. I'm sorry, I'm so passionate about it. They refused a youth club in the same building.
Thank you very much to our first speaker. I understand there's also a letter to be read out as well, so if I could hand over to you in the chamber for that, please.
I'm Jill, for the purpose of the recording, I'm Gillian Dawson, solicitor and legal advisor to the Planning Committee. I've been asked to read a statement on behalf of Porthcawl Council, given they were not able to be present. Porthcawl Town Council's decision to make a planning application for a temporary change of use was based on a number of factors. The lease of the current office in Mary Street has a break clause this summer, and a decision has to be taken on whether to relocate or agree to staying for a further 3 years. The change of use application only applies to the first floor of the Bowls Pavilion, which is currently only being used as a general storage area, apart from the very occasional use of the snooker table by the veterans. The first floor is not used by any other organisation or members of the community. The occupation of the first floor by Porthcawl Town Council staff will neither prevent nor restrict the use of the ground floor by the bowls clubs and the veterans. In fact, it could be beneficial in a number of ways for all users that the Town Council are in occupation at the premises. There is no intention to make any alterations to the fabric of the building. There would be a cost saving of around £17,000 per annum by the relocation of the offices, as there would be very little cost associated with removal and relocation process. This saving would enable the money to be used elsewhere within the town. The relocation of Porthcawl Town Council staff to the first floor of the pavilion would provide a key benefit, as they would be on site to manage and oversee maintenance of the Griffin Park site, which includes the playground, the bowls green and the adjacent public toilets. It is accepted that there is no car parking on the site, and provision is very limited in the surrounding area for visitors to the pavilion. However, there is currently no guaranteed parking at the present premises in Mary Street. As a general guide, currently between 8 and 12 members of the public, not to include councillors, visit the Mary Street offices over a typical Monday to Thursday working week. There has been an increase in contact with officers via virtual meetings, and arrangements can be made for council staff to meet the public and councillors via an appointment system, when appropriate, downstairs in the pavilion, alongside alternative premises within the community of Porthcawl being used for this purpose. If a temporary change of use consent is approved, Porthcawl Town Council would fully support the monitoring and maintenance in relation to the use of the building and the effects caused by its occupation over an 18-month period. This is submitted on behalf of Porthcawl Town Council.
Thank you very much. And so I think I move to the officer, if you could present, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the purpose of the recording, My name is Lee Evans, Principal Planning Officer. This agenda item then refers to the application for the change of use of the first floor of the Griffin Park Bowls Pavilion, Puff Call, to Town Council office accommodation. The proposed office use would accommodate 3 members of admin staff Monday to Friday between 8:30 and 5 p.m, and the use would be open to the public between the hours of 9:30 a.m. and 12 noon. No physical changes to the fabric or external appearance of the existing building are proposed to accommodate the use. It has been recognised by the applicants that the office use would be on the first floor of the building, and it is highlighted an appropriate appointment system could be introduced to facilitate the clerk and staff meeting occasionally with members of the public when required on the ground floor of the building. The planning application submission has generated a number of objections to the scheme as highlighted in the report to members and highlighted by the Speaker. And whilst the scheme does require careful consideration, on balance and effectively on a trial temporary basis for a period of 18 months, the scheme is considered acceptable. The key issues raised relate to the principle of the use and its location within an existing leisure facility, siting and access issues and highway safety. In terms of the principle of the use and the potential loss of a leisure facility, the proposed office use ultimately relates to the first floor of the building that is understood to currently comprise an underused storage area. The primary ground floor leisure use of the building would largely remain unaffected by the scheme, particularly given the limited scale and hours of operation of the office use on weekdays only. In terms of siting, the building is inside settlement limits and is in very close proximity to the defined commercial and service centre of Puff Call, which extends to the immediate west of the site along Eastern Promenade. As such, the application site is not considered so remote or within such an unsustainable location to warrant the refusal of the scheme. The constraints of the access to the first floor of the building are noted, although this is an existing established situation, with the applicant being aware of this issue and intending to appropriately manage this matter. In terms of highway safety, the concerns raised are again acknowledged, although the Council's highway officer is supportive of the scheme on a temporary basis, which would allow the highway authority to gather data and evidence on the impact of the use in terms of highway matters in and around the site. In summary, when weighing up the material planning merits of this proposal and subject to a temporary consent to further assess and consider the full implications and issues of this proposal, it is considered the application can be recommended for approval, subject to conditions as recommended in the report to members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Lee. And could I have a proposer and a seconder for this, please? I possibly can't hear in the chamber, but I'm not hearing anybody shout at the moment to propose and second.
Councillor Kern proposed.
Thank you very much.
Seconded.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll open it up to anybody with any comments then, please. Okay, so Councillor Delahughes, please.
Thank you. Can I just ask, the Speaker mentioned removable bollard and suggested maybe a permanent bollard would be more suitable. So I'm assuming there's already vehicular access then in and out of there, which if there's children playing and there's lots of activity going on, I mean, that isn't ideal. Is there any way that I could ask for an amendment that the bollard is made permanent and not removable at all?
I second that, Chair.
Officers, could you respond to that, please?
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, there's a condition in relation to the bollard. It's condition 5 in the report, Councillor. The idea was to lock the bollard during the use of the offices. So we'd have to agree that that is locked at all times, and in addressing this change of use application, then that bollard would be locked during the operation. So if a member of the public wanted to enter the park, couldn't do it because the bollard would be in place, if you're with me, and that was the idea of the condition. Are you looking for the bollard to be there permanently to address current issues? Would that?
Well, current and future issues really, if there's going to be more movement there. And if, well, it just worries me that there is a vehicle already going in and out of there. And where does it stop when it's got to get out of their vehicle to move the bollard? And then is there room? Is it blocking the road anywhere? If there's the double yellows or whatever other restrictions are there? That's all. I mean, I can sort of picture it, but not it. You know, I'm just trying to get a picture of what it's like. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor. I think that there may be requirement for access and for maintenance vehicles, etc. But Lee Tuck is on the call, I believe. I don't know if Lee, you want to provide any further clarification on that.
Yes, thank you, John. Thank you, Chair. For the purpose of the recording, my name is Lee Tuck. I'm the Principal Highways Officer. Yes, I've assessed this application, and as Lee has said, that it's a temporary consent, as we don't have the data to prove that this would be detrimental to highway safety. And we felt that the bollard would be a mitigation for the immediate concerns of the public and members to manoeuvres around that entrance. The problem I've got with the permanent bollard is I haven't assessed, nor has anyone, the actual access they would be pushed to use. So I'd need to look at that and understand, and maybe a bit more work on that to understand what the consequences of using somewhere else would be. As I say, this is an existing access that has been used in the past by our own Parks Department, albeit very infrequently. So I can't see. I think it's a bit further up by the tennis courts. The access where the old tennis courts used to be, a bit further around, I think, the other way, sorry, Craig. No, it's back the other way, in the other direction. So, I mean, permanent bollard would resolve that issue. I don't know how they would get in, and that would need to be put forward by Porthcawl Town Council to understand that. And maybe a middle ground here for members would be if we have a condition for a bollard management plan, which is then enforceable, we can make sure that there's a document that says, no vehicles to enter the park, regardless of who they are, whether they're Porthcawl Town Council or anybody, between the hours of 9 to 5. It must be kept locked out, during those hours, and outside of those hours, access will only be, for example, between 7 and 8, something very early in the morning when the children are not going to be there playing, and then it's locked. So, is that something for members to maybe think about, and so have the removable bollard to maintain some kind of access for maintenance vehicles, but have a a bollard management plan, traffic management plan to accompany that, so that there is an enforceable planning, and members have got the comfort that our enforcement team can go out and make sure that is being done. I'll leave that with the floor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. Chair, if I can just come in a second, please. I think another point, Lee, maybe if you can clarify, is there normally a requirement for access for emergency vehicles, ambulances, etc., into this sort of environment, or is that something else we need to consider?
It is, yes. I mean, obviously for ambulances, that would be another route in. Generally, I find when I speak to the emergency services, they'll just find a way in. They'll break things down. They'll cut sections of fencing out. So, but yes, obviously the easier we can make it for them, the better. And they would have to have keys, which we deposit with the ambulance station at Brinkethin, and with the police, they would need copies of the keys as well for any removable bollard, which is a normal practice for us in highways. So, but yes, we would need to, and that's why the other access, I would need to fully assess that, and that would have to form part of a condition, I should imagine, if we're going to permanently block this up, so that I can assess the other access to make sure it's suitable for emergency vehicles.
Thank you very much. Could I go to Martin Hughes, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think the application is quite clear that it's to accommodate staff and visitors on occasion. My recollection of visiting the council offices many years ago in Mary Street is that there's also a chamber for councillors to meet collectively. It's not strictly sort of relevant as a planning issue, but just out of my own personal interest, what arrangements are the council making to facilitate that meeting facility if it's not at Griffin Park?
I'm not sure whether we've got anybody who can answer that. In the chamber, any officers understand the answer to that question?
Right. We've got a couple of people who could potentially answer that question.
If you could help me, Jonathan, as I'm not in the chamber, I'd be very grateful.
Okay, thank you. We do have a Councillor Farr with us, who is also a local member, I understand, for this area, and the speaker who spoke earlier has also raised her hand. In the interest of fairness, Chair, if you're happy, I'm quite happy. I would bring in both people in. Is that okay?
Yes,
with you, Chair?
and if I could just stress to both speakers there, this is a factual question, not a matter of opinion. So we just have a clarification about the use of the chamber there.
If the speaker's on her feet, so if you're happy, Councillor Farr, we'll start with the speaker. Yeah.
Currently, Porthcawl Town Council meetings are held in John Street YMCA, where there is more suitable parking for people with disability because there's a car park right by it, and there is vehicular access and access for people with mobility problems to park directly outside. And several friends of mine who frequently attend town council meetings find that really easily accessible.
Thank you very much for that statement. Councillor Farr, would you be able to comment as well, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can confirm with the resident, the town council meetings are held at the YMCA. We don't have access to the chamber. We did have a chamber years and years ago, but we don't anymore. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Farr. Councillor Hughes, do you have a follow-up question, or are you content?
No, I'm content. Thank you for clarifying that one for me.
Thank you. Councillor Della Hughes, please.
Could I just ask, with regards then to the accessibility, if they're using the upstairs and they say that if somebody with disability needs an appointment, that appointment can be made, they can be met downstairs, what position do they find themselves in if, for example, somebody with a disability wanted to apply for a job with Porthcawl Town Council, then they wouldn't be able to access the workplace, which is upstairs?
If you're happy, Chair.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, Councillor. It's the responsibility of the Town Council for compliance with disability discrimination legislation, and they would have to make arrangements if that was the case. That's not something that we would cover under the planning considerations, but it's a valid point. But the onus would be on the employer, being Porthcawl Town Council. Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. In the absence of any other hands, I'd like to make a couple of questions. Actually, to me, this has a current use of amenity for recreation, and by changing the nature of this, then we are inherently lacking some amenity for the local population. But we're also potentially gaining for the local population in the money savings for the council. But I think from a planning perspective, I am concerned about that loss of amenity, and although that may not be in use at the moment, that's potentially because of a failing of the Porthcawl Council itself to advertise the facility and to make the snooker table available to others. So I'm really interested from a loss of amenity point of view, what the officer's position is on whether there is a loss of amenity or not.
Thank you, Councillor. I think if it was the whole of the building, Councillor, it'd certainly be a concern, and the local planning authority couldn't support something to change the whole use of the building. I've been upstairs, I've walked around. To me, and what I've been presented with is more of a storage area, and it's not the full loss of the building. But to be reasonable and fair, hence we've gone with a temporary recommendation. We can see how it works. If we are concerned that there's, it's undermining the main use, the amenity use, we can reassess that, certainly, and that's why the temporary consent is coming from. If, the compatibility, looking at it in that sense is what we're looking for. But if it was the whole of the building, slightly concerned, the fact it's upstairs, I can argue that the amenity use is not being lost completely. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I can see Councillor John. Could you like to come in, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just a bit concerned that the narrative about finances seems to be an ongoing theme with this. I don't believe it's a material issue in planning, the finances. So I think we need to steer away from the financial benefits or gains or losses even. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Councillor John. That's a good comment on my comments earlier. So thank you for that clarification. I think you're absolutely spot on with that. Any other comments at all? I can feel that within members here, there's some concern about this particular one. Does anybody have any amendments, or would you like me to put it to a vote? Anybody want any other comments, please? Okay, so Councillor Hughes, please.
Can we have something in there then about the management plan for the bollard, just to make sure that it will be monitored? And Lee said he would look at the other access and really just to make sure that it is safe for everybody.
Thank you very much. So I think that's a reasonable request. Jonathan, could you advise me? Do we need to have a vote on that, or is this something that we can take on?
I believe, Chair, that there is a condition relating to the management. I think it's condition 5. The use hereby permitted shall not commence until a single lockable bollard is installed within the vehicular access gate of New Road in accordance with the scheme that has been submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. The bollard should be retained in accordance with the agreed scheme. I think what you're suggesting, Councillor, is you want something a bit more detailed than that. I think we could amend that slightly to have a management plan. I think we can just add a few words to that. It's not just a scheme; it's a management plan. I think we can accommodate that. You happy? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Just my legal advice, if you could, do we need to vote on that, or can we take that as read? I wonder whether my legal advisor could just, do we need to vote on that, just for clarification?
There's no need to vote, but if anybody objects to that.
Okay, any objections to that as a change in the proposal? Okay, thank you very much. And so then, is there anybody against this? Okay, so nobody against, so I declare this as passed. Thank you all very much. And I would ask if you could invite the chair to re-enter the chamber, please. I'm not sure about anybody else online, but I seem to have lost the main chamber feed. Seems to have frozen.
Hi, Councillor Griffiths, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yes, Councillor Easterbrook. I think we've lost you on the main feed coming into the chamber.
Yes, I think we have, Councillor.
Yeah, so I can obviously hear and see you. I don't know if there's any other councillors. We think we're back.
Unfortunately, I can't use chat to speak with the.
Yeah. I'm not on the Wi-Fi. I'm on the wired. So
So is there anybody there in the main chamber?
I think you're back.
No, we're not back. I've still got a frozen screen from online.
Councillor Griffiths, can you hear us?
Oh yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, well you're back online. It looks like. So I think where we left it was the legal officer said that there's no need for a vote on the amended condition unless there was any objections from the committee or anybody wishes to object from the committee to that or make any further comment.
Okay, so there were no objections online. I didn't see what happened in the chamber, so if you could just clarify.
Nobody's raised a hand in the chamber.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jonathan. So I declare that passed then, and if you could invite the chair back into the chamber, and maybe the chamber may need to restart their feed because we have audio, but we have no video for main chamber.
Councillor Griffiths, we think we'll take a 5-minute break and try and sort out the IT issues.
Okay, thank you. So if we can take 6 minutes and come back at 10 to the hour, please. Thank you all very much.